NFTs are basically tokens on blockchain. It's just a form of certificate. It's a form of proof. If I were to create a nice little painting, I don't need a copyright registration for it to be copyright protected. So how copyright works is...
Where do you see that this could be great problem solver in future? Welcome to the Legion Show. Today we have a very special guest who's on a mission to make the dispute resolution accessible and affordable for everyone. Today we're gonna jump into the world of NFTs and how it is helping the creators and the cool tech behind it changing the world. Miss Sneha Vijayan, we are thrilled to have you here.
And I'm thrilled to be here. Thank you so much for having me.
It's a pleasure. So let's begin with the first question of this podcast session.
Yeah.
Why NFT?
Okay. So I guess before we step into the why question, let's look into the what question. So what are NFTs? So NFTs are essentially non-fungible tokens. So what are tokens, right? Tokens are basically just representations or record of assets, right? So the Bitcoin that you have on the Bitcoin blockchain or Ether that you have in the Ethereum blockchain are all tokens, but these are fungible tokens. So fungible means it can be easily replaced. So if you have a 10 rupee note, and then this one 10 rupee note can be easily replaced by a 10 rupee note that you give me, right? Because the value remains the same. So that's what fungible means. Non-fungible, on the other hand, means it cannot be easily replaced. So let's say I have a custom made ring with me. You can't just give me a similar ring and expect it to be okay. You know, that exchange is not going to make sense. Thus, this means that it is a non-fungible asset, non-fungible item. So a token on the blockchain, which is absolutely unique, would be a non-fungible token. Yeah. So yes, so we are done with the what question. Now let's look at the why question. In this world, right, there's a very famous Malayalam movie with Dilip in it where for a living he forges certificates, right? For people who want to go abroad and get jobs or like get higher or masters or whatever it is, forging certificates is a thing because it's absolutely easy, right? These certificates, do you think they're fungible or non-fungible?
They will be fungible.
How so? Can they be exchanged with any other?
No, they can replicate. They can duplicate.
Yeah, but what is the purpose of a unique certificate that belongs to you, which says you've graduated from college with your mark sheet?
There will be a seal, or there will be like a stamp or something like that.
So ideally, there's just supposed to be one. It's not intended for multiple people to make duplicates.
Correct.
Right? So what if it was possible for us to create a permanent imprint of this certificate on the blockchain, right? If you can do it on the blockchain, if you can create a permanent imprint, and then if you come with a set of duplicates and submit it, and then the interviewer wants to verify it and see if this is a duplicate or not, they can just check the blockchain and see if it's linked to that particular unique token, right? So having a non-fungible token, a very unique token on the blockchain linked to a very unique asset in the real world or in the digital world just helps you verify whether this is an original or not. So this is why NFT. It just helps us verify whether something is what it is.
Interesting. I've been looking through your profile and I saw that you have been giving a lot of public appearances. You have been on stages moderating and talking about NFTs and IP and creating safeguarding the creators in the world, of course. So I would love to know more about your contribution to the space and what is actually Resolution doing.
Yeah, sure. So my personal mission, of course, is to make dispute resolution accessible for all of us, anyone and everyone, right? So if you've been in India or even any part of the world, you know how difficult it is to go to a court of law and then have a dispute resolved. In India, it takes maybe about 10 years to have a civil dispute resolved, right? And it is frustrating. Now, the judicial system actually provides you an alternative. You can actually privately resolve these disputes. There are alternate dispute resolution mechanisms. Arbitration is one such mechanism. So this allows you to privately select a judge and then privately get it resolved. But this can be very expensive, especially when it's cross-border, right? So let's say you buy something on eBay from, let's say you buy this mic on eBay from someone in the US, and then there's something wrong with the mic, you want to initiate a dispute. Cross-border dispute resolution is a pain. So the solutions that you have to resolve it is also expensive. So personally for me, that's a real pain point for anyone. It actually hampers your access to justice, right? So for that, it was important that we bring about new alternatives to make dispute resolution just easy and affordable. So that's what I have been working on, and that's one area that I speak about. So with Resolutio, while we have significantly evolved from where we started, in the beginning, our motivation was to create a dispute resolution mechanism, a very affordable and accessible mechanism for creators. So if there are any disputes between creators, so let's say you are an artist, you create an NFT, and then somebody else steals that NFT. Or let's even say you're an artist, you don't know what NFTs are. One day you wake up and you see an NFT of your art on OpenSea, and then you're just like, who even made it, right? So we wanted to create a dispute resolution mechanism that anybody can use. So that is what we did with Resolutio. So as we started building and as we started exploring how dispute resolution using blockchain and emerging technologies could really make things easier for people, we understood people didn't really know what this meant or how to access it. So that is how I started advocating on the importance of dispute resolution. So some of the areas that I speak about is, of course, how technology can be leveraged for dispute resolution. So blockchain, AI, etc. can easily be used to resolve disputes. Another area that I talk about is art protection. So dispute resolution happens when there is a dispute, right? But what if you can protect even before a dispute arises, right?
Precaution is better than curing.
Exactly. So precaution is an area that I speak about. So once I started speaking to artists, so I used to provide services to creators as well, help them frame contracts, vet through contracts that they would be privy to. So when I started speaking to creators about their protections, I realized they didn't really know their rights. So they didn't know a concept called copyright protection existed. They didn't know how to protect it. They didn't know contracts could be made. So I'm sure as content creators, we may have started in a freelance stage in life. We may have created content for other persons, right? At that point, maybe some people would ask us to create some content. We would say yes, and then we would go on to create it. People are not thinking the need for a contract to protect you in case you start making that content but they don't pay you.
Correct.
Right? I mean, this works from both angles, as a consumer of that content and the creator of that content, right? So one area that I now actively talk about is IP protections. How can you as a creator protect yourself conventionally, using conventional contracts and also using technology? So with Resolutio, what we're doing is we're building these protection tools for creators. So we tell people how you can use these tools to protect yourself. So yeah, long answer, but yes.
But yeah, it's interesting. Well, what are the most common questions and doubts that you get from these creators when you approach them and tell them about these are the rights that as a creator you have?
Yeah.
What are the common questions they come up with?
Okay, common questions. General questions or with respect to NFTs?
With respect to NFT, as a creator, of course, they will be into NFTs, right?
Yes. Okay, so I guess one common question would be, if I make an NFT of my artwork and I sell it, do I lose all of my rights over my artwork? Right? Because you tend to think that NFT of an art means ownership of that art, and only you as the holder of that NFT has complete ownership of it. So yeah, that definitely is one major question.
So let's begin with distinguishing the art and the digital art, so that my audience can understand what are the biggest difference between these both.
Yeah,
because there are important things that we should discuss, but let's begin with let's distinguish art and digital art first.
Okay, in terms of like technicalities of how it should be defined, I might not be the best person, so I would give you my interpretation of what physical and digital art is. So digital art would essentially be art that can be represented in the digital form, right? So your graphic art, your music, your videos, all of them would be digital art. Sculptures, physical paintings, I consider food to be art as well, so I would say food, clothes would all be physical art. But then again, just the caveat that this is my interpretation of digital versus physical art. Yeah.
So see, of course there is no connection between the digital art and the physical art, but if there is a way that we can protect the physical art with the digital art, is it even possible?
Yeah, sure, definitely. So Okay, here's the thing. With respect to art and literary work, one way we can protect this is a product of our intellect. Okay, so the art we create, literature that we write are all products of our head, product of our mind, intellect, which is why there's a certain protection that the law itself gives us called intellectual property protection. So legally speaking, the moment you create an artwork or a literary work, it is automatically protected. Okay, so just to set some context, right? Anything that's a product of your intellect is a intellectual property, right? This could be your artwork, this could be your literary work, this could be an invention like the electricity, this could be things like your Aramula Kannadi or Basmati rice or Darjeeling tea. So depending upon what this intellectual property is, there are different types of protections. So for your artwork and for literary work, it's copyright protection. For things like basmati rice, which is based on geography, it's called GI, geographical indication. So that's a different kind of protection. And now I've lost what your question was. Sorry.
Well, my interpretation of art is there is physical art, there is digital art. So when it comes to physical art, that is sculptures and everything. And the drawings and whatnot. And when it comes to digital art, it is NFT. So I think teacher, you should tell us what is actual physical artist and digital artist and the terms underneath the digital art or digital tech, just like you mentioned.
Okay, sure. Okay, let's take a step back, right? Very abstract way of looking at things is everything around us is art, right? But since that's not the answer we're looking for, like you said, what is the difference between an NFT and digital art? Is NFT art, right? So the difference between NFTs and digital art, right? Are they the same? So no. Long answer, not really, because NFTs are basically tokens on blockchain. Right? It's just a form of certificate. It's a form of proof on blockchain. So when you're talking about art NFTs, so that would be your Bored Ape NFTs or your Azuki NFTs. Those are all just code which is proving that that artwork linked to your NFT is, an original or has certain rights attributed to it.
Okay, so let's keep it this way. I have a picture.
I
have taken a picture on my camera. I have uploaded that picture on my computer. Now I can prove it to the world that this picture is mine. It is something that I created. No one holds the authority to the picture. To prove that, I need a technology that is connected to this picture, proving that this is mine and I created it on this day, on this time, and blah blah blah. That is how I that's how I got it.
Right, that's one way to look at it. But that is also subject to the world believing it, right? What if you take a picture, I take that picture from your phone, I upload it and turn it into an NFT. Does that make it mine?
Well, ideally it won't, but again, if people believe in the tech, then definitely it will.
Exactly. So the way people see NFTs are as a sort of mark of ownership, right? Because that's how it's perceived. There's no definition which says if you have an NFT of an artwork, that means you own it or like you possess that artwork or you have any rights over it. These are all just rules that we've made up and we're making as we go forward. Ideally, concrete laws, right? Laws that the judiciary, the legislature makes, that's what we follow. But when it comes to NFTs, there are no laws. So we are the ones who are just, creating these rules. So there is an understanding, and I want to emphasize on the word understanding, right? Because it's not a fact. There is an understanding that when you create an NFT of an artwork, there are certain rights linked to that. Sometimes it's ownership, but that's just an understanding. There's no law, there's nothing concrete to show that.
So when you mentioned about a solution, you said that you're creating this 360 protection for all the creators in the world. And the IP protection, the term you mentioned. Well, I want
evidence for IP protection.
I want you to elaborate on how you execute that.
Yeah, sure. So we talked about different types of IPs, right? Should we touch upon that again? Or
it would be great, yeah.
Okay, cool. Property rights, right? When we talk about property, what are you thinking of?
that it should have a paper, the documentation and everything should
Yeah.
be in my name, and
Yeah. So I mean, like the word property. What is property?
land.
Land, right? Land is property. This is some kind of like
Correct.
a laptop is some kind of property. Your phone is some kind of property, right? These are all things you can touch and feel, right? Now let's say you're creating a YouTube video. You're designing how it's supposed to look and the story, and then you implement it, edit it, and you publish it. Would that be property? You're creating it.
Yeah, it's going to be a digital property though.
Yeah. So that essentially is a product of your
Mind.
product of your intellect, which is like, so in legal terms, we call it intellectual property,
IP.
right? IP. Yeah.
Correct. Okay.
So there are different types of IP depending on what this property is.
Okay.
So if it's artwork or literary work, it's copyright.
Okay.
Okay. So if it's an invention like electricity, it is patent.
Okay.
Then you have things like trademark, you have GI.
That comes under copyrights, or that comes
No,
under different?
these are all different types of IP.
Okay. Got it.
So yeah, they all exist parallelly.
Okay.
Yeah.
And that these are existing for the physical properties. I believe.
It's property of the intellect. It's
Intellect.
intangible. You can't touch it.
Okay. Correct. Got it.
Right. Yeah. So coming back to copyright. So as far as creators are concerned, we're mostly talking about copyright protection. Copyright because it's their artwork, it's their literary work, right? So ideally, intellectual for you to have that intellectual property protection, you have to register your work, right? If it's a patent or GI, whatever it is, trademark, you have to register it, right? Otherwise, you can't enforce your rights against others. But with respect to copyright, registration is not required.
Okay.
So if I were to create a nice little painting, I don't need to register it. I don't need a copyright registration for it to be copyright protected.
Okay.
So how copyright works is, the moment I create my art, it is automatically copyright protected.
Okay.
Yeah, so the moment you create your YouTube video and you put it up, you don't need to register it. It is copyright protected. If
That platform gives you the right to?
No, like
Okay.
the law is framed such that the moment anybody creates your work, it is automatically like protected. Obviously, it depends on the laws of each country, but generally speaking, copyright protection law says that the moment your art is created, it is copyright protected. So you might have to, so for your company, if somebody is using your logo, unless you've registered it, you might have some trouble, right? But if somebody is using your YouTube video, registration really isn't necessary.
Yeah.
Okay. So
Well, I have a doubt in that. Well, that platform gives you the right to.
no. Platform doesn't give you the right.
Okay.
Platform does not have to give you the right.
Okay.
Like the law.
It comes automatically.
Yeah, it comes automatically. The
That's
law
nice.
gives you the right.
Okay.
But still, there are provisions to register your copyright, and it is advised that you register your copyright.
Okay.
This is because there is that evidence of that art being created by you. So copyright registration is for evidence. So in the future, if there's a dispute, right? If somebody says, oh, that YouTube video you created, it was actually me who created it, right? So in such instances, if you've registered it, then there is evidence. Then when you go to a court of law, they'd be like, oh, okay, let's look at this copyright registration and then help decide it. So what we are doing is, after speaking to quite a few creators, quite a few artists, we understood that nobody has ever copyright registered their work, right? There are some instances where people do it, like let's say musicians who work with record companies. When you have people to look out for you, they tend to do all of this. But otherwise, individual artists don't generally copyright register their work, mostly because to them it might seem like a cumbersome process. So what is the next best thing you can do to create evidence that you created something, that you created it on this particular date, right? Blockchain, right? It's a great transparent database which shows you data, like where the data that you record on it is easily verifiable. So that's one of the things that Resolution is doing. When you create your original artwork, we create a stamp of it on the blockchain.
Okay.
for you. So if there is a dispute, if there is any question of whether you've copied it, etc., whether you've taken inspiration from someone else or whatever, you can just be like, oh, you know what, come back and see when I created it on this day, and this is what I created. Here's this record of proof. So this is very easy for people to do. So we add a few more attributes to help protect us, few more things that the creators have asked from us. I won't talk about that in detail because we're building, but we'll be publishing a paper soon. So yeah, but for now, what we're doing is essentially creating evidence that you have this is your original work, that you have copyright over it.
Amazing. So let's say if I'm creating a video and I'm putting it across other platforms or social media platforms, I'm distributing it, and then if I am gonna come to you and asking you that I'm gonna ask you that I need to prepare a stamp that proves that this is mine, right? That's what you're helping us to do, right? But in the beginning you said that we don't need a copyright, but so now you're helping us to create a stamp, right, over that content which shows the data and everything. Well, my question is this, I'm pretty sure that this tech is evolving. People are getting to know about blockchain and everything. People are not getting a lot of problems in copyright and all, because these existing platforms, Web2 platforms, are helping them out in figuring out a way to remove the other videos. If let's say if I have posted a video and someone is posting it on their channel, I can use it YouTube to get it over it, right? But where do you see that this could be a great problem solver in future? Do you see that it is going to be like a platform like Solution is going to be a big problem solver in future? The number of content that is being distributed and all. When does that even where do you see that? Okay,
so you talked about life cycle of your art being created to it being published, right? So what you talked about was you create the artwork, put it across various mediums, and then publish, and then creating a record. But ideally, how I'd like to draw that life cycle is, you create your video, the video is ready to go out on the 20th of October, right? But the video was created on the 5th of October, okay? And you have this video with you. Ideally, what you do is you take this video, you drop it into Resolution, so we create a stamp. There are few other attributes you get, few other modes of protection that I can talk about later with the documentation when it's out. But other than that, you also optionally could get a contract to govern how that work can be used.
Okay.
All right. And then you get back this artwork from us with a certain degree of protections over it. You take that artwork, then on the 20th of October, you can post it.
Okay.
Right. So the moment you create it, you create a stamp on that day. Right? So you don't wait for the video to be posted on the 20th and then come back and create it, because then that's giving you like 20 extra days since it was created. So yeah, so number one, like the first number one where it helps is creating that evidence of when it was created.
Okay.
So
that's like having a birth certificate of the particular
exactly
content.
Like the moment you create it, you put it on. Right? How can it help? One, of course, creating that evidence for any creator, right? Two, there are a lot of creators out there who love creating art but may not necessarily publish it, right? So they want to like create some kind of evidence. If they keep it in their computer file, or like even if it's physical, right? If they keep it within themselves, if somebody initiates a case, how do you say that, okay, on I don't know, 6th of October 2023, I had actually created it. So for those people, what we do is we take the artwork, we encrypt it and we store it. So nobody can access it, nobody can see it. So that is up to you. So evidence is something that absolutely any creator might need. Even if you might not want to use it commercially, keeping that evidence is great. Additionally, there might be people who want contracts governing how to use that artwork. Right? So you might want to license your work. Right?
Got it.
It might be hard to do it all by yourself. So when that art is given to us, we give you the option of creating like a license which governs how that art can be used, and that's also stored. So you know how contracts can also be manipulated, right? So this prevents that.
Do you see that these new developments happening in the NFT art world? Are the people incorporating these IP into everything and anything they create?
Not everyone is doing it, but people are not, because people aren't aware of it. But I'm seeing more and more platforms coming out which are incorporating IP based solutions. So there's a platform called Molecule, there's another one called Stories. So these are all platforms that are looking at how IP protections can be provided using emerging tech like blockchain, AI, all of that. And it's not just for copyright, even for patents. So there's a platform, the name I can't recall, which actually helps you create proof of software that you're building, right? In fact, for one of the, I think it was for ETH India, our team, we'd created this platform which created proof of patents. And on that platform itself, you could license, write over what you've created.
Okay.
Yeah, so yes, there are plenty of people who are exploring how IP protections can come in using tech.
Very general question I want to ask you. How these NFTs are impacting the art world existing today?
Okay.
And what are some of the key changes you have observed, because you have been in the space, you have been closely connected with a lot of creators?
Okay, so there have been both positive and negative changes. Let's start with the positive changes, right? NFT technology itself, like we've already discussed, has helped create proof of creation, right? So as a creator, if you want to sort of prove that you've created it, this is great. The moment you create an NFT, there's that link, right? So there is that general understanding that the person who creates that NFT is ideally the creator of that art linked to that NFT as well. So this is a great application. Another is because of the popularity associated with NFTs, art has actually reached a larger audience, right? So creators have had access to a much larger audience than before. So this has meant that you might have unconventional creators working on unconventional spaces, right? So you have your conventional, let's say, oil painting, photography, etc. There may be creators who make amazing art which don't fit within the boxes, right? So the moment your audience of this particular art increases, the likelihood of finding people who would like your kind of art also sort of increases. So because the concept of NFTs gained popularity, creators also have had exposure to a lot more people. And one great example is that of artist Cyber Shakti, who's a beautiful artist from Mumbai.
Okay.
And she's actually had her work featured in one of world's greatest galleries, right? And this was after NFTs came in, and she creates glitch art.
Okay.
Before NFTs, she's talked about how her art has not received the attention that was due, right? What it deserves. And with the whole NFT hype, if you want to say it, right, with the popularity of NFTs, as the audience grew, the likelihood of finding people who would really appreciate our art also sort of grew. So that was great. It also gave a lot of creators additional revenue streams. So we know that it's very difficult to make money from art unless you've established yourself. So because you have a larger audience, you have people willing to experiment, a lot of creators got that opportunity to make money from art. This was abused by a lot of people, but yeah, exposure and the ability to make money is something that NFTs brought in addition to this whole proof of creation that it could provide. Another very negative impact of NFTs is that because it became so popular, people thought, oh, maybe we should all just create NFTs and sell it, even if it doesn't belong to us, even if we don't have any rights over it. So there was this one artist whose name I can't recall. Sorry. So she made art inspired by Van Gogh paintings.
Okay.
She made beautiful paintings. She was a non-NFT artist. She didn't really have anything to do with NFTs.
Okay.
One fine day, she found about 80,000 NFTs on her art. And that wasn't her.
Okay.
She didn't know how this even came about. And she, I think, somebody notified her that this was on OpenSea. So because of the popularity of NFTs, and because there were people who would just buy any NFTs, right, who didn't really look into the art, or who didn't really look into where it came from, it gave a lot of miscreants the license to just go on making NFTs of anything.
Correct.
So there were definitely a lot of positives, a lot of negatives also. So then there is obviously the debate about the high computational power that comes with using blockchain, right? The impact on the environment. So when you're just creating NFTs for no reason, this is also something it impacts.
Yeah. In a bad way or
in a bad way? Yeah.
Of course,
yeah.
for sure. So we have talked about a lot regarding NFTs and how it is impacting the art world and the IP protection topics, of course. And now I think I'm going to take you back again to the world of NFTs and the whole life cycle of NFTs. So if someone is coming to you and asking you if you can explain to them, this is the life cycle of NFT.
Yeah.
From making it to publishing it to monetizing it. So take us through that journey.
Sure. Okay, so I'm going to give a non-technical person's perspective of life
I would
cycle
love
of
that.
an NFT. Yeah. Because I'm not a technical person.
Same here.
Right? So if you're talking about art NFTs, because you can have NFTs linked to absolutely anything, right? So if you have art NFTs, this is the popular way this is done, right?
Yeah.
So you take your artwork, you store it on a storage network like IPFS, which is a decentralized storage network.
Okay.
When you store it on that, they give you this unique code, a CID. It's a unique identifier.
Okay.
Which points to, so if you take this code, it ideally points to your artwork in the network, right?
Yeah, it ideally points to somewhere it is stored. It is being stored.
Yeah.
Okay.
It points to that, stored the artwork basically.
Okay.
Right? So you take that code, the CID, and then you create a token on the blockchain.
Okay.
So when you create a token on the blockchain, there are certain attributes that's added, and CID is one component that's added.
Okay.
Right? So the reason we take this art, store it somewhere else and get that CID and then store it on the blockchain is because adding data on the blockchain is a expensive affair.
Okay.
It's getting better now, but ideally it's an expensive affair. So taking the art and adding all of those attributes on the blockchain directly could be expensive. So we're storing it somewhere else, getting that unique identifier, and then storing it on the blockchain. And then you mint your NFT. The process of creating that token is called minting that NFT.
Okay.
Right? And once you mint that NFT, that token exists with you. If you are the one creating it, it is, you're the one who holds that token.
Okay. So there is one doubt I have. You mentioned about token on blockchain. Like we have to create a token on blockchain based on the CIDs that we have, right? How as a normal person can create it? Is there a platform where we don't have to put any code or anything? We can just mint it like that?
Yeah, sure. So these marketplaces like OpenSea, they actually let you create it.
Okay.
But if you don't want to use any of those marketplaces, you want to independently create it, there are a few platforms. One example, let me just quickly get that. Okay, Viak, VIAK. This is a platform that I've used. It's very basic, very simple. Basic is not the right word. Very simple to use, where you just upload your art and you get your, you can mint your NFT.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the whole process, the life cycle of NFT will also be there. Like the token and everything will be there. The CID will be there. Everything.
Yeah. So when I created my first NFT, it was on Algorand. Right? It was a very complicated process. Like the interface was not built for someone who didn't know the technology. So I had to take my artwork and then I had to drop it on Pinata, which is one of these decentralized storage services. Pinata gave me the key. And then I had to go to Algorand's, one of the websites which was built on top of the Algorand blockchain, and then add that CID, and then there was a whole minting process. I had to pay a gas fee, and then I could see my NFT. Slightly complicated, right? If you use these independent platforms, you just take your art, you upload it, and then you just like maybe click a button which says mint NFT and you have it.
So you can also decide the supply, you can also decide everything and
yes,
anything.
on this platform you can.
Okay. And what are other attributes to connect to an NFT, like supply and what else?
So you can, I am not the best person to be discussing this with, but the platform that I used, you could decide the number of NFTs that could be minted.
Okay. The supply.
Yeah, the supply basically. Yes. What we are trying to do with Resolutio is that we want to also add contracts to it. Like, so we want to be able to generate a license and that link it with your NFT. There are platforms that do that. So Tezos has a platform. I'm terrible with names. Tezos has a marketplace. We can find out and then put it on the video. So Tezos has a platform which helps you mint the NFT, and with that you can attach a license to it.
Okay.
There are plenty of other platforms that helps you attach license to the NFT as well. But yeah, the process is basically, today the process is simple. You don't need to understand blockchain technology. You go to a website, upload your artwork. Sometimes it asks you how many, like the numbers you want. And sometimes there's a license, sometimes there isn't. Ideally, it's great if there's a license attached, and you mint it. And then it's fairly simple. Like transferring that NFT is just like transferring tokens. Right? And where does this end? You can continue transferring it when you create.
Can monetize it.
Yeah, you can monetize. You can sell it. You can license it, which means that you're not selling it. You're giving someone rights over it for a specific period of time, possibly. You can burn it, which means you're deleting it, like you're ending it. Now, as a developer, people can add extra attributes when creating an NFT. There are some platforms that enable to do it without you requiring to know how to code. But these extra attributes are things like, sometimes when you buy an NFT and when you keep transferring it, the image keeps shifting. So this is a dynamic NFT.
Okay.
There are different things. So essentially, there's a smart contract which sort of defines the birth and attributes of this NFT. So you can like create the smart contract any way you want and keep things interesting or keep things static.
Nice. I think we should definitely need more than a day to explore the whole life of NFT, and it's pretty interesting to me. I'm in some way, in another sense, I think I can also call myself an artist, because we also create content and all, right?
Of course.
Just like your way of putting it, like if food is an art, of course, someone who makes that food is an artist. Sure. Well, I hope that we'll have time again in future to discuss more about all that thing. But I have 5 questions from my community.
Sure.
Generic questions, but these are very important. So listen, guys. Would creator who make NFTs of their art lose all the rights? That's one of the concern I got from the community.
All right. So we spoke about this understanding that we have, right? When you create an NFT, you are the owner of it. And then when you sell it, sometimes there is this understanding, although flawed, that you automatically become the owner of the art. And that is not the case. So as we discussed earlier, when you create an artwork, there's copyright protection. You are the copyright owner, right? Once you're the copyright owner, you decide who gets to use the artwork. Okay. Now, when you create an NFT and you sell the NFT, unless you're saying that by virtue of me selling this NFT or transferring this NFT to you, my rights also transfer
to you.
You don't lose it.
Okay.
Right? So if I were to just independently create an NFT of my art and then I just transfer it to you, nothing's going to happen. But let's say I use a application like OpenSea, right? And when I mint an NFT on OpenSea and I transfer it, the terms and conditions of OpenSea says, if you create and sell an NFT, then you lose your rights over it. Then that would be it.
Okay.
So ultimately, just by virtue of you creating and transferring your NFT, nothing happens. But if there's a contract which says otherwise, that's what you need to be worried about.
Okay. The second question is, when I buy an NFT, can I do whatever I want with the art?
Same logic applies here, right?
Okay.
When I create the art, I'm the copyright owner. So when I give you a copy of that art, if I tell you do whatever you want with it, you can do it. If I haven't given you that right, you can't. So if you take the example of the Bored Ape NFT, the terms and conditions in the Yuga Labs website tells you that as the owner of that NFT, you can commercially benefit from using the art linked to it. So because the contract says so, that's great. There are some NFT projects which says you can commercially benefit from the art, but only until you make, say, $50,000 from it. After that, you can't use it, right? So it all depends on the contract, just the general. Yeah.
It's all connected to the contract. Whatever the contract says, it works. Okay, the third question, as a creator, what is the benefit of creating an NFT of my art? I think we have discussed it, but again,
Sure. So one benefit, of course, is to create proof that, you've created something at this particular time. So in case there is a dispute, you come back to this as evidence. But also, I just want to carefully say that there is, let's say, computational power associated with it, right? So you don't necessarily need to create an NFT itself. If your sole purpose is to create evidence, you can also create a stamp on the blockchain. Doesn't have to be an NFT. It doesn't just have to be an NFT. But the benefit, of course, is that there is proof of.
Correct. Okay, the fourth question, how do I know what I'm getting with my NFT, my art NFT? Whether I can commercially use it or sell it, etc. I think same, we discussed it.
Yeah, the contract, or ask the person who is transferring it to you.
The fifth question, can I create contract or license to govern the use of my art using smart contracts?
Yeah, you most certainly can. Technically speaking, you can, because there are a lot of platforms. Let's say there are music NFT platforms like Audius, right? That's using smart contracts to collect royalties from using your music, which is also a form of art. Legally speaking, smart contracts by itself is not universally recognized as legal contracts. But technically, you can. Like, it serves that purpose.
Amazing. So, last but not the least, I want to ask you something. It's going to be a very cliche question.
Sure.
So, you're on a mission to make innovation accessible and, of course, safeguard the creators. What is the best advice or an insight that you want to share with the creators, fellow creators?
Okay. Insight for fellow creators. Okay. This
and an advice too.
Okay, advice. Okay. Yeah, I guess insight is something that we've already talked about, right? The moment you create your art, it is protected. You don't have to register. You don't have to ask anyone for protection. Any art you create is yours. But be careful on how you use it. Be careful about how you transfer rights over it, because there are some tricky situations. So let's say you're a freelance artist, and if you're building something, if you're creating something for someone, then you might not have copyright over it, right? So spend some time understanding the law. Good thing is we have actually built out an IP chatbot. So if you have any questions about IP and NFTs or art, you can just come in and use our chatbot. But understand the law. It's very important. It protects you. It gives you your rights. It tells you how you can commercially use your work. It tells you how other people won't abuse it. So this is definitely the advice. This is the insight. Go out there, find resources, find organizations that are who's made it their mission to help you. So Resolution is definitely one. Also just wanted to talk about two other organizations I'm working with, which is Women Who Code and also the Phoenix Guild, who are also doing great work to help people navigate this tech space. So if you need help, look out for these organizations. Help will definitely get to you.
The help is there.
Yeah,
you just have to look out.
Well,
she shed lights on NFTs, the world of NFTs, the cool tech behind it, the blockchain, and why IP is important, how you can decade your IP, and you should definitely get in touch with Sneha. I'll share all the social links in the description. Well, I hope that my audience got a lot of things from your experience, your this 1 hour session. It's been very insightful for me as well. Looking forward to host you again here. This is an interesting discussion that I've had. So, looking forward to learn from you a lot. So, thank you so much.
Thank you so much for having me. It's been an absolute pleasure, and it's been a learning experience for me too. And all the best on all the future podcasts. I hope to be learning from that as well. Thank you.
This is not paid, guys. I didn't pay her to do this or say this. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Yeah.